Maybe this will give you some idea how we carry on. Say, when I call, she takes my hand, but you ain't heard nothing yet. In the hall, we act just grand, but you ain't heard nothing yet.
All right, today we're going to be talking about the quality of evidence that you present. Now, the Fitzwilliam Museum had a exhibition where they presented Egypt as a part of African culture and as a black African society originally. So, we take a look at this, we see that Cambridge is obviously a high quality institution. As you can see by the slide right here, what is an African-centered approach to Egypt? African-centered Egyptology aims to look at Egypt as part of African culture. They say it straight up right here. Ancient Egypt through a European bias. Most of the books written are written by researchers of European and North American backgrounds, which is true. And, of course, there are an increasing number of Egyptian scholars that are publishing in English as well as Arabic. However, there are comparatively few scholars of African origin or descent who work on the subject of ancient Egypt. And that right there is just a little shout out to you little hacks out there that say all you want to do is read about Egypt or talk about Egypt all day. This is absolutely not true. We know all about Africa and we don't got to talk about just Egypt, okay? Like it says here, comparatively few scholars of African origin or descent work on the subject of ancient Egypt. And that's especially when it comes to European scholars who seem to be more obsessed with Egypt than anybody else. And again, when our views, which are African-centered, are presented, they're often and wrongly dismissed by more mainstream Egyptologists. Here on the next slide, you can see Black to Kemet, putting the black back in Kemet, presented at the Fitzwilliam Museum at Cambridge. This was back in 2009, and essentially this whole idea was to present Egypt, Kemet, the way it's supposed to be, as a black kingdom, the first black kingdom, first kingdom in the world actually. We've been trying to tell you guys this forever. You don't want to listen. You keep talking about some Caucasian stuff. Of course there was Caucasian people there. But they weren't running nothing and they didn't create the Egyptian society as we know it. You guys really need to get over that, okay? It doesn't matter how many white pictures you get. So what? There are white people there. Yes. Can we get over it now? So here we see Cambridge University, one of the top places of scholarship in the world. We can't say this is an Afrocentric place, okay? This is one of the birthplaces of white supremacy. This is one of the pillars of white supremacy. You can present Cambridge as Eurocentric scholarship created by white people. What do they say? Black to Kemet. So, on their website, were the ancient Egyptians Africans? What color was their skin? Yes, the ancient Egyptians were Africans. We keep trying to tell you this. Egypt is in Africa, and there are many cultural links to other African civilizations. Remember how you keep saying that those cultural links don't exist? That's just how you wish it was. Look at the slide. If we look at the skin color and also facial features on representations of Egyptians, many are what we would consider today to be black African. What part of this is not getting through your mind, man? Come on, Super Egyptian. We keep trying to tell you this. Skin colors on temple and wall reliefs show ranges between dark brown and black, which is typical of what we see today with regard to people of black African descent or origin. Cambridge University. We're keeping this video today focused on quality of evidence, and we're using Cambridge University as a piece of that evidence, okay? Now, again, we keep trying to tell you, skin colors on temple and wall reliefs. You guys keep pulling these white pictures out. Half the time you got what you're seeing mistaken, and the other half of the time probably is somebody white, but so what? They are clearly outnumbered by the dark brown and black people that they keep showing. There's absolutely no way you can be that obsessed with Egypt and look at that many Egyptian artifacts and not see that. Furthermore, Nubians are a group who are accepted universally as black Africans are, like their neighbors from Kemet. Okay? I saw your little video where you try to put some Arabs up and say that these are ancient Nubians or whatever. North Sudanese, smash on Negro-centric, whatever. Come on, man. Do you have a real education? Shown on reliefs with both jet black and red-brown skin, just like Egyptians, and can be distinguished as Nubians by their wigs. Taking a look at this slide right here. It says, if we look at the facial features on representations of Egyptians, many are what we would consider today to be black African. It doesn't get much more clear than that, man. What part of this story don't you understand? Here we have another slide. This is obviously old Egyptian kingdom right here. You tell us that black people didn't exist even prior to the new kingdom. You have to be burying your head in the sand and being a straight up hater to look at that and tell me that that's a white man or a Caucasian. Here we have the Nubians. You can see that they have the wigs on. That exact same wig is on the back of King Tut's throne. His sister wears a similar wig to what you see right there. Again, we see the feather. I remember Phoenician number 7 trying to show some Greek statue and say, look at the feather. What exactly were you trying to say? That the Greeks were Nubians now? Or Egyptians? Come on, you're stretching yourself. Cabin right here. The Med J on top of the cabin. Just like the stela said. Now we're moving into some Nubian pharaonic imagery. You can see that they made their items similar to Egyptian items. And that these people have a history that is intertwined. And so we definitely cannot say that the ancient Nubians were some sort of Arab. Get over that. Here on the next slide we see the Fitzwilliam Museum's Department of Antiquities with the work of Dr. Sally Ann Ashton, who is the senior assistant keeper at the museum, put on some workshops, ancient Egypt, Africa workshops at Cambridge, Fitzwilliam Museum, with the support of Dr. Stephen, who is the curator of the Petrie Museum of Egyptian Archaeology. It doesn't get much more of a pedigree than that. The Petrie Museum of Egyptian Archaeology, you know, the same Petrie that you guys are running around quoting all day. Again, they're trying to get people to understand. Now you see this doctor here, Dr. Mpe Kimboli. Since I noticed the Congo is coming out of your mouth every 5 seconds, Dr. Mpe Kimboli has studied philosophy, theology, ancient Egyptian language, and Coptic. That's for you, Super Egyptian. He also speaks several African and European languages. He completed his PhD in Egyptology at the University of Oxford, where he returned to, where? The Democratic Republic of Congo in Africa, where he is a Roman priest and a member of the Order of the Jesuits. He also studied in Rome. And here he is at Cambridge University with a workshop where he focuses on the spirituality and the ancient Egyptians and modern interpretations or uses of that. Whereas you're over here making videos about how the Congo never did nothing and this and that and a bunch of stuff where you're not teaching anybody anything. Here's another workshop. Your nemesis, Phoenician number 7, Super Egyptian, Violet, Rahotep 101, and all the rest of you hacks. Here he is, once again, at Cambridge University. Were the ancient Egyptians black? You already know what he's going to say. Why is Egypt not seen today to be part of Africa by some people? So again, right here, Dr. Kieta, biological anthropologist, a medical doctor, human variation, especially in Africa, published widely on a variety of subjects, including ancient Egyptian skeletal biology. The connection between biology, language, and archaeology in the study of population history, ideas, race, and identity. That sounds like a lot of stuff for one man to do, instead of just making a video about one thing, some Caucasian Egyptians. That's not very scientific, and it's not very educational. The man is a senior research associate at the National Human Genome Center at Howard University and a research associate in the Department of Anthropology at the Smithsonian, but you guys say he's a hack who is insecure and wants to be an Egyptian. Curating Kemet, Fear of a Black Land is a paper written by Sally Ann Ashton, University of Cambridge. Excellent paper. Really got to check that out. I doubt you guys ever even seen the paper. Okay? Sally Ann is the same woman that your friend, your wife, Phoenician number 7, made a video about when she made a video about the Afro combs. And Phoenician number 7 made absolutely no point in her video and is criticizing a person who has a whole lot more education than she does and who knows exactly about those combs. She could talk about those combs in detail, and she can also talk in great detail about other African combs, and she presents evidence. But you wouldn't know that because you guys are a bunch of haters who want Caucasian and Arab Egyptians to be running around all over the place. The Department of Antiquities is responsible for the material culture of ancient Egypt and the Sudan and Greece and Rome and Cyprus and the ancient Near East. The main periods and cultures of these ancient civilizations are represented through a wide variety of objects and media. And as you see, they got everything, okay? At Cambridge, Duckworth Laboratory, 18,000 individuals, one of the world's largest repositories of skulls, skeletons, masks, mummies, hair, blood, jawbone tens of thousands of years old. Plague pits, alongside axe-cleaved skulls from Iron Age battles, and this and that from 3 million years ago. You see the slide, you see what it says. The reason why I'm showing you all this is we're looking at quality of evidence. We're looking at who's saying what. We're looking at their reputation, okay? That's what we're doing. If you have any problems with what I'm saying, here's the contact information for these people. You can call them, you can write them, you can go there, you can send them an email. Do whatever you need to do. Don't criticize me, call them and ask them why they're making a Black Egypt exhibit for over there. Here we have a slide. You see this is very Eurocentric, straight out of Cambridge, England. Home of some of the greatest scholarship in the world. Come on. This is the home of Eurocentric thought, along with Oxford, University College, and all the rest of those places. These are the exact same places that said they were going to bring civilization to West Africa. Same places. Remember that. What is the Fitzwilliam Museum? It's the principal museum of the University of Cambridge. It was founded in 1816 by the bequest of Richard, Viscount Fitzwilliam, an 18th century collector whose gift included funding for the building on Trumpington Street, which opened to the public in 1848. We got to remember that Cambridge itself has been around for about 800 years. That's 800 years of scholarship. We see that today the house is under a single roof. Works of art surviving from many of the great civilizations of the past. Once again, ancient Egypt, Greece, and Rome. Occidental, Oriental, European, North American. And it's described by the Standing Commission on Museums and Galleries as one of the greatest art collections of the nation and a monument of the first importance. And it's also a museum with outstanding collections. Again, Black to Kemet. Remember that, okay? One of the great treasure houses of Britain, 2005. You can't argue with something like that. So when you see a picture of this woman right here, you can't simply explain it away. You show all these so-called alleged white Egyptians, which most of the time are yellow-colored women. That's why I say you can't explain this right here. But that's just an interlude. Show me the next slide. Now, what is the reputation of Cambridge? Here we have 2015, Higher Times Education World Reputation Rankings 2015. You see the slide. Then we also have the QS World University Rankings for 2015 and 16. We take a look at Oxford and Cambridge right here. Firmly established among the world's higher education elite, the Oxbridge brand is extremely strong, with both halves of Oxbridge getting high ratings in international surveys of academics and employers. So here we have Cambridge, Black to Kemet, Fear of a Black Land. Then we got Oxford, who publishes papers by Dr. Kieta, saying that the original Egyptians were black. This brand together is extremely strong, and it's getting high ratings in international surveys of academics and employers. Yet you guys want to make videos that get 3,000 views just so you can say that we're a bunch of wannabe Negroes and all this other crap that's coming out your mouth. Cambridge comes out second in the world according to both groups. Oxford retains the world's highest rating from graduate employers and is ranked third in academics. You see the slide, time to move on. Here we have the rankings. University of Cambridge, United Kingdom, number 2. Number 3, University of Oxford. Number 4, MIT. Here we have some more numbers from another one. Oxford, third in the world. Cambridge, third in the world. Oxford, sixth in the world. Let's take a look at their academics. Second. How about their research impact? 42nd. And this is out of thousands, mind you. Again, here we go. Arts and humanities, second. Oxford, first for arts and humanities. This is important for what we're talking about because we're looking at art and we're studying ancient cultures, and also this is science, life science and medicine, because we're looking at the bones. And as you see, Cambridge, second. Oxford, third. Again, this Oxbridge brand, the UK's two oldest and most famous universities, have a historical rivalry dating back more than 800 years. 800 years. Both are steeped in centuries of traditions, stories, and stereotypes. And those stereotypes will be your traditional Eurocentric. Now, one thing that the University of Cambridge is known for is research. The same research that you guys keep throwing off. Excellence in research, exhibitions, and engagement. This is from the 2013 to 2018 strategic priorities, which you can find and download yourself. Here we have right here, preserving the collections for future generations. And you want to talk about Cambridge's research skills. Here we see they have 78,470 publications from the time that I had taken this screenshot. 78,470 publications. This slide here, £75 million investment went into their lab, neuroscience, and as you see right here, 700 researchers in more than 60 different departments across the university. Now we're going to take a look at some of the people that have attended Cambridge. This will help us to understand a little bit more about their reputation and whether we can believe what they say or not when it comes to academics. Oliver Cromwell. If you know anything about England, you know that at one point in time, this was a man that held some power and was very important because they still talk about his ass. We all know who this guy is. Ask any Indian. Cambridge University. Michael Whitney Straight. He was a spy for the KGB, and he was also a publisher, a novelist, patron of the arts, and a member of a prominent family. Cambridge University. And of course, it is a royal university because there's been a few kings that have gone to this school, and also Prince William, the Duke of Cambridge, mind you, goes to school in Cambridge. Also, the Queen has made a few visits there. Cambridge has videos on YouTube. I notice not a lot of people watch them. Everyone wants to talk about Egyptian this and that, but they never are coming with any high quality research or going to high quality sources. And of course, SuperEgyptian is nowhere in sight. Meantime, he's commenting on everything else. An Italian Cambridge student subjected to the ultimate disrespect when he goes to Egypt, where the Turks and Arabs live now. And of course, I guess they didn't like that black to Kemet stuff that they were saying over there. Here you see once again, savage. Savage, man. Come on. Come on, SuperEgyptian. What's wrong with your family over there, bro? So again, Fitzwilliam Museum explores an African-centered approach to Egypt. And on this page, they ask a number of questions. Were the people in ancient Kemet the same groups of people who live in Egypt today? You see what it says on the slide. Today, many people forget that Egypt is part of the continent of Africa and only think of the modern state of Egypt, which has closer ties to the Islamic world and is often seen by people to be a part of the Middle East, which includes Syria, Iran, Iraq, Lebanon, Israel, Palestine, and Arabia. That's why you guys come up with these phony theories that some sort of Babylonian or some sort of Akkadian or some sort of Sumerian or some sort of Canaanite came into Africa and settled there, or that some white people came over there. It didn't happen, man, okay? You guys talking about 50,000 years ago, some Caucasians came in there. Hey, guess what? There was no such thing as white people back then. So what? They came from Caucasian areas. Don't mean they were white. You need to learn a little bit about genetics. It tells you straight up right here. And people have said this over and over again. Later, the population was affected by the immigration of soldiers, traders, and settlers from outside cultures, including 2 Persian invasions, Macedonian Greeks, Romans, and Islam. Persians ruled Kemet from their own country. Greeks lived in Kemet and adopted Egyptian culture and traditions. And a lot of the stuff was amateur because it's easy to see a Greek Egyptian item because it's always generic looking. And that's why all the stuff that you guys post is always goofy looking, because a lot of that stuff comes from the Greeks, man. Okay. The Romans had their own version of Kemetic culture. They came with that goofy stuff too. But again, you see this, all these people came after the fact. Early Islamic rulers maintained cultural links with early Egypt. That's why they copy the Egyptians now. And as seen at the mosque, yada yada, blah blah. I don't got time to educate you on this. You see the slide. Once again, Sally Ann, curating Kemet, fear of a black land. Who is Sally? You see the credentials. Assistant keeper of antiquities, ancient Egyptian art and archaeology, classical Greek art and archaeology, visual culture and criminology. She's also written a few papers too. Yep, same school this guy went to. Ask the Indians about him. She searched for Cleopatra's temple. She wrote a book about it. But her specialty is Greek Egyptian stuff. This was an excellent paper on molds, not molds, but models for the statues. And that's another thing that you guys fail to put into your equation, is that a lot of this stuff that you guys show is a model for other statues. But that's another conversation. She also wrote a paper on the ancient Egyptian hair combs at the Fitzwilliam Museum in Cambridge. Now, these ancient Egyptian hair combs pretty much look like Afro pics to a black person as soon as they see them. This is from her paper right here. Hair combs in the Fitzwilliam Museum. Very high quality. But were these hair combs made for a tan Caucasian with an afro? Come on, bro. So, you sit up here, Phoenician number 7, and put this shit up. Come on, man. That guy right there on the left side doesn't even look like an Egyptian. And then Hemiuni right there on the bottom wasn't even found without his head, first of all. I doubt you've even seen the original photo of when they found that thing anyway. And then your pictures that you have over here are a joke on the right side. Yet more of the Egyptian elite that you say didn't exist. The pre-dynastic combs in the museum are instantly recognizable to people of African descent and often prompt the viewer to relate a personal story about hair, yada yada. We can say comparatively little about the cultural or spiritual significance of these combs. What we do know is these pre-dynastic pics are instantly recognizable to people of African descent. Let's talk about hair extensions. The making of hair extensions and the styling of hair using a long thin pin is one that is still repeated today in many homes and salons. Braided hair tied with beads, plaited and curled hair were adopted by men and women and is evidenced in the form of wigs, yada yada, blah blah. Now, black women know all about braiding hair. It's done in Africa and it's done over here in North America too. Okay? It's always been a black thing. Not to say other cultures don't braid their hair. Of course they do. But they don't usually braid their hair the way black women do. You can see the statues, man. Come on. Of course, you guys can sit up here and keep on saying it's a Caucasian, this and that. But there is no precedent in Caucasian society where you had, over and over again, your women are wearing braids like that. Even in Avatar, it's obvious she's supposed to be a black woman. You can see by her cheekbones, you can see by her lips, and you can see by her hair and the way that it's decorated. That's traditionally African. Land of frankincense, Somalia. Once again, we don't need to put 5,000 pictures up of the sisters put the hair in the braids because we all know how that looks. And we all know that's a black thing. So were the ancient Egyptians Africans? Yes. What color was their skin? Egypt is in Africa. Get over it. There are many cultural links to other African civilizations. Get over it. If we look at the skin color and facial features on the Egyptians, many are what we consider today to be black African, okay? Skin colors on the walls and the wall relief show ranges between dark brown and black. Let's remember, Cambridge University, one of the top schools of all time, is telling you what color the Egyptians are. You guys keep coming with these white pictures. Those are people that are living in Egypt or people that just got in somewhere. The original Egyptians and the ruling original elite were black people. You can find this at Harappan Palace if you know anything about pre-dynastic Harappan Palace. But you don't. You come with some Caucasian stuff and a twisted mind and think that you know something. But we keep trying to tell you and you don't want to listen. Super Egyptian, Violet, Phoenician number 7, Rahotep 101, Uzer Mahat, whatever his name is. You see right here, many statues have lost their original skin color. Sometimes colors are used by the Egyptians symbolically. They'll be painted gold. You guys will find some yellowish thing or a gold thing and say this is another picture of a white person when it really represents immortality. Now, you see what it says again on the slide. If you leave aside color for a moment, we can also find a great deal from looking at the facial features shown on Egyptian statues. We can also find a great deal about facial features shown on Egyptian statues. Here there can be no doubt that we're dealing with people who are African. Faces broad, high cheekbones, jaws strong, noses broad, lips full and fleshy. Come on, brah. I know you see that. You're about to see this now. Black, what did it say? Black, dark brown. That is the range. Okay? Here we see Amenhotep III. Dark brown. You see his woman is painted yellow, so you say he has a white woman. Go to school, okay? Here we see Akhenaten, his action figure. Whatever that is, it's an artifact, okay? You're not going to sit up here and say that's a Caucasian. Again, dark brown. But then we also have this. This is Egyptian, but it doesn't mean that these people are white, okay? Get that through your head. Just because you're sitting here having a Eurocentric orgy when you see pictures like this, doesn't mean anybody was white. It doesn't really mean anything at all, except that this is a representation of the king and his prince. Doesn't mean pre-dynastic Egyptians were Caucasian. Doesn't mean they created the Egyptian society. There is no evidence for that. Here you can see how a person in Africa can have Caucasian features and be mixed with that Caucasian blood, and there's still going to be that black presence still there in their face. You can see by her cheekbones and the shape of her face. Okay, and there's also probably, you know, if you start getting into anthropology, you're gonna say that she also has some Caucasian, you know, mixture in there by looking at the bones. But the fact of the matter is, you guys seem to think that when a black person and a white person have a child, that the black is just bred out instantly. No, it's the other way around. Let's get that right. You gotta add a bunch of Caucasian blood to say that. So your idea of a tan Caucasian with an afro is outdated.